person. So it is based on the previous experiences we have. If we do have a good experience about that person, we have a goodwill or good thoughts about that person. But if you have a bad experience, based on that, we tend to interpret the things, right? So this may also happen. Some of the things which are very famous, and when as soon as we will announce the name of those people or that places, we got interpretation about those people and the places. So I have a do example here. I already explained it to you yesterday. So suppose if the class advisor make the announcement that we do have an industrial visit into Goa or at the Goa, then everybody will be thinking about what the enjoyment they will do, right? As Goa is very famous tourist place, right? But we will not think about that what kind of the industries we are going to visit, right? So that is the interpretation we do have, because the place is famous for some other things and we are going there for some other things, right? So it is happening, and as soon as we are going to talk that which are the industries would be there, but you will not be concentrating on the messages we are delivering to you into the meeting, right? Because you are engrossed what things you are going to visit and what the enjoyment you will do. So likewise, it also happens to the organizations when they have an interpretation of that particular person in a wrong manner, in a wrong way, and we are judgmental when we are trying to communicate with the other people. So it is totally based on our previous experiences, right? So we do wrong interpretations. Then some of the times you may find some of the employees are there into the organization. Those are known as block categories, or their mind is completely blocked. So rejection, distortion, and avoidance are three common undesirable and negative reactions to the unfavorable information. So this is the unfavorable information applicable to in every kind of the communication you are involved in. For an example, if you do love the maths, then when you are attending the lecture, then you need not to concentrate more, because automatically your interest is there, so you are getting concentrated. But as soon as physics lecture is there, if you don't like that subject, then you will be thinking something coming in the communication and going out. So this means that you don't like that information or the topic. That's why you are not concentrating. And that is why we have the block categories of the concentration or thinking when we involve into the communication. And so apart from it, we do have some of the kinds of the people who are known as the block categories of the people. Those are people like they always resist to change. Some of the people don't want to change, and they need not to accept the new information, new technology when it comes to use it. And that's why when it comes to the new technology and new information, they're creating the category block, which will definitely lead them to create the communication gap or barrier in communication. So these people are known as the closed mind people, right? So sometimes we do have some of the impressions about the people from the different schemes, because they have some of the qualities attached because they select that particular stream, right? As an example, we can say some of the art students think that science students are good at reasoning because they do study maths, right? And art students are not studying it, but this is not the case with everyone. Maybe possibility is that 10 students will be effective into the reasoning, but not all of the science students. So this is also categorically we are creating a block in understanding. Then some of the managers into the organization also think that there will be the youngsters who could be more efficient than the older ones when it comes to the employees, right? Also, this is not applicable universally, right? So we cannot say that this is the applicable formula to each one. Then there are people, those are known as the categorical thinking. They have a particular thinking category, and that category is known as Mr. Know-all. Some of the students, some of the people around us, some of the relatives, our friends are known as Mr. Know-all. As soon as you talking to the any other topic, they just jump into the communication and trying to tell to you or convince you that they know about the topic everything. So these Mr. Know-all people, they are also creating a barrier into the communication. And because they have the confidence that they know it everything about a particular subject, they refuse to accept any new information available on the topic. I could give you an example about it. Suppose if you are a student representative, and there is a meeting of the rest of the department's students representative. It is being called today at 2 p.m. And you know that the meeting was about to call because yesterday only you had a meeting with all the heads of the departments, and they were telling that tomorrow they are going to conduct the meeting when to conduct the gathering, right? Annual social gathering. And into that meeting, you were alone there, and you attended that meeting, and the detailed schedule was discussed by the HODs and the principal to you, and dates were finalized, right? And they were also telling that tomorrow they may be calling the meeting of the all the students representatives of the different department. Now today you are thinking that you know that message very well, you just sitting into that meeting, so you thought that you have some important work to do, so you are just planning to skip that meeting, and you skip it, right? You didn't attend that meeting. Now the problem will occur when next meeting is being called by the students representative on annual social gathering, right? When next week you are attending that meeting, you were not attending the previous meeting, so that you don't know what happened into that meeting, right? But now the dates have been changed and you didn't know that information, and you prepare the detailed schedule of your department and everything you plan about it, and you are just ready to put up it into that meeting, and you take the initiative and telling the detailed schedule. Now, looking at the faces of the students, you are getting the message that something is wrong happening, and you will stop in between, and somebody will inform you that the dates are being changed, so you can experience the embarrassment. Now this also happens to the any person who is working into that organization and consider himself a superior and Mr. Know-all, and also imposing the barrier into the communication. This is just an example. There could be several situations into which they will behave like that, and they will be creating a problem to get the new information on that particular subject. So that's known as categorical thinking. Okay, so this is just another example of the organization. So same things are applicable there. Then apart from the psychological barrier, there are halo and horn effects. What are those effects? Let's see. Halo effects. Halo effects means hello, when we are favorable with any other person, we say hello. It means, and it is applicable to the halo effect, right? So now when we think about the halo effect, it is concerned with the people who we believe most. Some of the students, some of the friends, some of the relatives, we tend to believe much as compared to the rest of the people. And those people, we blindly believe on them, and whenever they are guiding you, telling you something, you just believe it, right? So that's known as halo effect. You tend to believe everything whatever they are telling you, right? Sometimes they will also give you the wrong information, but you tend to believe it because that's how you behave with those people, or will have the assumption about those people, right? So it is concerned with the people who we believe most. We also tend to believe information they're telling. So that may be a wrong or right, that would be another thing, but that is known as halo effect. We tend to believe everything on them. And horn effect. Horn effect is opposite to the halo effect. It is concerned with the people who don't like or disbelieve. So sometimes when they are guiding you properly, but we tend not to believe them because we have a horn effect. So mostly it happens with our parents, right? Parents are guiding to us, and we also do believe that they are, whatever they are telling or guiding for, it is for our benefits. But we have a horn effect, right? As compared to the friends, we have a halo effect, right? So that also tends to create a problem in understanding, in communication as well. So many of the students don't communicate properly with the parents, and it's also creating a problem to understanding between their relationship and what they're talking to you. So that is known as horn effect, right? So if a person giving you the right information, we consider it as fake. So in every situation, everybody is not wrong, and we should not be judgmental. So what we have to do, we have to see the situation. We can also definitely apply the previous experiences with that information, and then you need to make the judgments based on the previous experiences. We tend not to judge everyone. If we do, then certainly it will be imposing a barrier into the communication, right? So that's known as halo and horn effect in psychological barriers. Now coming to the interpersonal barriers, when it comes to the intrapersonal barriers are the psychological barriers, and intrapersonal barriers are stemming when creating the problem when the sender is at fault. So intrapersonal barriers stem from the sender's fault, while interpersonal barriers can stem from the sender as well as receiver. Both are at the fault. So interpersonal barriers could lead to create a problem in a communication when sender as well as receiver or both are equally responsible to create a problem into the communication process. So let's see which are the barriers are here. Then apart from it, interpersonal barriers occur due to the inappropriate transaction of the words between two or more people. So it's stemming from using the words or inappropriate words into the process of communication. Or sometimes it may also occur on the process of encoding and decoding. So when you encode the message, it was wrong. So sometimes it may also happen that a receiver, when decoding the message, he is decoding it wrongly, right? So on encoding process and decoding process, or in the process of communication, it can occur anywhere when it comes to interpersonal barriers. So the first barrier, which stems from the limited vocabulary. So when we are communicating with the people, we are using the language. When we are using the language, we do have proper words. When we are using the proper words into the communication, we tend to be effective. But sometimes we fall short for the words. In our communication or day-to-day communication also, we do not find the exact word to express our emotions and thoughts. And at that time, that's not what I told to you. You are not understanding me. So when you are telling these statements to the some other person, it means that you are not able to express effectively, and you couldn't find a suitable word to explain what you are feeling or thinking, right? So that's lead to create a barrier in communication. So inadequate vocabulary can lead to take pauses and create obstacle in the flow of communication. So that's why this problem occur. When do you appearing for public speeches, presentations, etc. So when you find the topic very difficult and the terms which are not being used by you in your day-to-day language, you couldn't use those words effectively, right? And that could lead to create the several pauses and you will not be effective, right? So sometimes we search for the exact word to express our feelings and thoughts or information, but we couldn't find the exact word. So we have passive vocabulary with us. Sometimes we also do know the word, but we are not able to recall that word because we are not using in our day-to-day communication. Every day we tend to read a lot and we are coming across many words, but we are forgetting that those words at the same time because we are not using those words in our communication, right? So whenever you want to increase your vocabulary, what you have to do, you have to use those words, add those words into your statements, your sentences on day-to-day basis, right? How can you do it? Make the list of the 10 words, then form the 10 sentences using those words and use them regularly in your communication. So those words will be coming into your active vocabulary. We do know the words, many words, but we are not using them into our language, and that's why it's creating a problem, right? So that's known as passive vocabulary. When sometimes mismatch in verbal and non-verbal communication also lead to create a barrier. In every situation, we are not favorable to that situation, that person, and as soon as he comes to you, it's your responsibility to greet, to talk to that person. But our body language is something different and the words we are using are different. So it also creates a problem in understanding for the other person, right? So misinterpreted non-verbal communication acts as another barrier to effective communication. Actions speak louder than words, and non-verbal signs provide a deeper insight into the sender's message. Now, when unwelcome guests are coming to your home, through our body language, we can send the signals that these are the people who you don't like, but still they are coming to you, but you have to talk to them. And when you are talking to them, your words are different, your language, body language is different, right? So it's easily understood what feelings you have with those people, right? And generalization based on the assumptions about the physical appearance or race can also lead to create a barrier into the communication. Suppose if you're appearing for a very technical presentation and on the stage you find a person who is short, not wearing the formal attire, and he is very casual there. So the first impression you are forming is that person is not at all interested or will not be effective because the physical appearance he has or she has creating a bad impression, right? So that also leads to create a barrier. Sometimes we have assumptions, pre-assumptions about the people based on based upon the physical appearance they have. So I have chosen an example here, Einstein. When you see the figure or the photo of the Einstein, he was short and he was not good looking person. So whenever he was going for any scientific conferences, seminars, at that time people do have a wrong impression about Einstein, right? This person wouldn't be effective and is not having the intelligence, but he was, right? Sometimes it may also lead to create a barrier when CEO introducing a middle level manager, but he doesn't have a good relationship with the manager. So that also creates a problem in communication process. See here another picture here. Now look at this person who is listening to the other person. Now look at his body language. It is completely closed, right? He is folding the hands, and when somebody is sitting like this, it means the person is busy in thinking some other things, and he just physically intending that he is listening to you, but he is not listening at all, right? Then emotional outbursts. Emotions are very effective sometimes when you are communicating your feelings, your attitude about that person. And sometimes emotion also can create a problem in our communication. So emotions are the integral part of our being, whether in business or personal encounters. So we cannot differentiate between our emotions and the people we are meeting. It doesn't mean that you are feeling sad, and when you meet the people, you are showing them very happy. For long run, it is not possible, and sometimes it may impact the communication, right? Then when it comes to the emotions, positive emotions such as happiness and excitement also interfere in communication, but to a lesser extent than the negative feelings. Suppose if you are happy and excited at that time, you can understand other people, but that will also create a problem in the intensity, how much you can understand, right? And when you are happy, it will not create many problems when it comes to the other people in communication. But when you have a negative feeling, it will definitely create more problems in communication. So if you confronted such situations, do not retaliate or reply and must be calm down, because when you are feeling sad, negative, you may start to have a quarrel with the other person, or you may start to cry, right? So in that situation, you should not respond, right? Do not respond. That will be the way out from the situation. Now, I have chosen an example here. Suppose if you are president of the X organization, and 2 weeks ago there was a news that you involved into the fraudulent activities, but you were not. And suppose if you are asking or having a meeting of the same people who have spread that wrong rumor about you, so you will not face them effective manner because you do have a thinking that these are the people who were responsible to spread that rumor, right? So sometimes it may create a problem into the communication. Sometimes you will not be effective in dealing with those people. So emotional outbursts can also lead to create a barrier into the communication. Then into the communication, sometimes we have a communication selectivity. Communication selectivity will lead to the selection of the messages and information you like. So that's known as communication selectivity. So it can happen when, as a receiver in communication process, you pay attention to a part of the message only. You just need to pay attention to what information you are interested in. And when it comes to the rest of the information you think it is not important, you are not concentrating on that information, right, as a receiver. So communication selectivity happen because the listeners are interested only the part of the message which may be of interest to you or useful to you. For an example, suppose a principal calls a meeting of the all the CRs of the first year, and you belong to the different branches, right? And when she is calling a meeting, all of the students or the CRs sitting there, when she is talking department wise, for an example, she started with the chemical department. When she is talking about the chemical department and the chemical CR, at that time the CR of mechanical or computer will not concentrating much because they are thinking that the message is solely for that CR of the chemical department. So at that time you will be busy in thinking something else. But she has called a meeting because she need to convey the information in detail, and so that the uniformity should be there when it comes to work together. But as you are concentrating only the message she has told to you about your department and you are ignoring the rest of department's information, her purpose to call a meeting will be wasted. So this way we are imposing a barrier into the communication. So whatever information you are receiving there, it will be incomplete, right? So you should not rely on the communication selectivity. Then poor listening. So listening is a skill, and we tend to listen differently. So when it comes to the listening, we are poor listeners, and there is a separate topic on the listening skill for an hour. So there I will explain to you in detail how we are inefficient listeners. So there is a basic difference between the hearing and listening. Hearing is a passive exercise. So whenever you sitting somewhere, it's a natural to hear something because our eardrums are open 24 hours, right? So when you are sitting, you can hear the voice created by the people outside of your house, then the birds chirping, vehicles passing. So these are the sounds you can hear, but you are not listening to them. You are unconscious about those sounds. Whereas listening requires careful attention and accurate decoding of the message. So when you involve into the hearing process, you are not decoding a message, but when you listening to that message, you are decoding it. There are certain reasons why we are poor listeners. First, we engross in thoughts and worries. Every time the stream of consciousness in our mind, the thought process goes on and you cannot stop it, right? So every time we are thinking, we are planning, we are motivating, demotivating, everything we can do in thinking process, right? So we are engrossed in thoughts and worries, so that we are not able to listen properly. Then sometimes we are under tension. It's because of the heavy workload we have or the important task we have to do, and we are not able to complete it. So that's where we have a tension. Sometimes, as a receiver also, when you are listening to someone, you are not paying attention to that person because you think the message is not important to you. For an example, sometimes when you visit to the superiors or the faculty members or the people you want to meet, and that person, when he is shifting the papers of the file or book he is holding, so that person is paying partial attention to you, right? So he is not completely listening to you. And when you are listening and doing this like this, then also you are not listening completely to that person. So we do also have a partial attention, but we are not listening completely. So that could also lead to create a barrier in understanding or in communication. Then apart from the interpersonal, intrapersonal, psychological barriers, mechanical barriers, environmental, semantic, we do also have organizational barriers. Organizational barriers are those barriers which are occurring into the organization. So barriers are not limited to an individual or two people, but can exist in the entire organization. So what kinds of the barriers can exist in the entire organization? We will be looking at. In a large organization where the flow of communication is downward, feedback is not guaranteed. As we learned about the channels of communication, when the communication is in downward position, only superiors are issuing the orders to the juniors, and they are not expecting that some kind of the feedback should be received, so that the communication gap is there, or understanding level is also not there. So when we're thinking about, you can see here, we do have the compartments in every organization, and that those compartments or physical distance could also lead to create a barrier into the communication. Then the hierarchical level also can lead to create a barrier in communication. So let's see the types of the organizational barriers. So the first and foremost barrier is the fear of superiors. As you know that whenever you join to any organization, there will be the in charge who could see your performance, and he will have the sole authority would you continue or not into that organization. So he will make you under pressure, and because of it we do develop a kind of fear with that person. So if we do have the fear of superiors, we can also lead to greater barrier as a employee, as a junior employee. So fear prevents subordinates from speaking frankly. So that also creates a barrier. If I talk to that problem, then he will become angry and will not cooperate. Everything will happen. So we tend not to communicate effectively. So sometimes juniors may avoid speaking directly or completely shut down all the communication to the superior. And when you do not communicate with your superior, that also leading to create a barrier, right? And sometimes junior employee may not be pleased. Sometimes the junior employee may not be pleased by the work done by the boss or the superior, and will not have open communication with that person. Sometimes we are also at the fault, we commit the mistake, and we are not communicating that mistake with our boss or the superior, because we think we will lose the boss goodwill. So that also leads to create a barrier in communication. And that's why without any hesitation we say boss is always right, because we do not need to find out his mistakes. When we find the mistakes and trying to show it, he will become angry and will lose the goodwill of the boss. When sometimes we do have an information overload, this particular image will convince you what kind of information overload would be. So information overload is nothing but when you have to assess, you have to go through the host of the information in a very short time, and you couldn't find the sufficient time to handle it carefully. So that is known as information overload. So when it comes to information overload, it is the availability of huge amount of data which the receiver is unable to handle effectively. So very often a vital relevant information gets mixed up with too many relevant details, and therefore goes ignored by the receiver. So this could be a good example. You know that you are not submitting your assignment on time and you just wait for the deadlines. And as the semester is about to end, at that time every faculty member is giving the remaining assignment to you. So that is known as information overload. You have to complete all the subjects assignments, and you do have a short time. So how do you do it? You are just completing half of the assignments and uploading them, right? It is happening because of the information overload you have, right? And sometimes you are not able to get that what the message is being said by the faculty member or the sender, so you just completely ignoring the guidelines provided to you, and that's why mistakes may happen. So the results are fatigue, disinterest, and boredom when you have information overload, right? So under these circumstances, further communication is simply not possible. As you can see, the government departments, when you are going there, there are piles of files on every table, and they are under the pressure to complete. And whenever you try to communicate with those employees, they are not cooperating with you because they are the under pressure, or they have the information overload. Okay. And sometimes Barrier could be created when we are using the inappropriate media or channels or mediums into the process of communication. So when we think about the appropriate media, it is concerned with the choosing the right medium to send the message, right? So you should be careful about the advantages and disadvantages of sending the message. So when you are sending a message, you have to use a proper medium. But when you are making the choice of it, you should be thinking about the following elements. You have to think about the time, cost, and type of the message, and the intended audience. So thinking about this, you have to properly plan what channel and how the message would be delivered to the concerned people, right? So whenever you're thinking about to use a telephone as a medium, it's not an ideal medium to send the confidential information, because a telephone is not a reliable source to tell the confidential information, as anyone can hear it, or it will be easy to decode the line, right? So telephone is not an ideal medium to send the confidential information. Then letters are prepared whenever it is very important work and it need to have a record, so that when it comes to the important and record of that particular work, you have to use the letters as a medium to send the information. Then you can use the next media for the confidential information. It is an effective use. For an example, you can see whenever you receive a debit or credit card from the banks, they are not enclosing a PIN number with the debit card, and you have to collect it from the bank, or sometimes they will send it to the through the other courier. So this is how they just resist to use any other person of that information, so that it will not be disclosed to that person, right? So this could be the effective media. Whenever you want to send a very confidential information, send half of the information through the mail, post mail, or different mediums you can use to send it, right? So that the complete information should not be received by the person, and you cannot misuse it. Then many organizations face this problem, and this is known as too many transfer stations. So when we are thinking about the vertical communication, upward and downward communication, there are so many transfer stations which are in existence and through which the message is passing. For an example, when you have a problem, any simple problem you have, so you will communicate with the CR will communicate to the class advisor will communicate to the HOD, and the HOD will communicate to the principal. So these are all the examples of the transfer stations, because we have to follow the hierarchy into the organization, right? So there more links there are in communication, the more are chances how the messages can be distorted and changed. So everyone who is getting into that particular channel or the process can change the message. Then message can be changed, modified, altered, or distorted as it passes through the channels or transfer from one person to the another. So everyone will have authority to change it, and it will be modified accordingly. So there is additional or subtraction in the message, right? So sometimes there will be addition of the message, or there will be removal of some information and new addition which wasn't planned by the sender, right? Now I can tell you an example of it. Suppose if I want to convey a message that on Monday I will not be available, so whichever batches I plan on Monday, those batches can appear for the public speech on the Saturday, right? So this is a message I just conveyed it to the student. When the students will listen it to me, he will listen it carefully, but he will not deliver the message to the whole class. He will find some other student of that particular class and will pass the message like, the PC teacher told us that he is not conducting the public speech on Monday. Instead, he will conduct on Saturday. Now the message was getting short. If I make it complicated, then there are more chances that the new addition of the information would be there, right? This is a simple message. But if I make it complicated, that, okay, so you need to convey the message like, for the batch 1, I will be engaging the session on Wednesday for the 10 students, and the remaining 5 students will be engaged on Saturday. So there could be addition of anything when the message is being made complicated and it is passing from the various channels. There are chances that there will be a modification into it. Right? I do have a video on it, but I couldn't find it today. So whenever I will find it out, I will get it, I will show you. Okay, so you will understand how the message can be distorted or altered. Then there are some cross-cultural barriers are also existence into the every culture. As you know that every culture have a different kinds of the ways of the communication, and that could also impact into the process of communication. So let's see what are the cultural barriers and how cultural barriers could impact the communication process. So as businesses are increasing across the national boundaries to compete on the global scale, business organization has to learn the cultural variations of the particular nation. So they have to know the diction, the way of behaving, right? The communication process, everything about that particular region. So the first and foremost thing when it comes to cultural barriers, the first and foremost barrier would be the language, as every language is different from each other. There are near about 6,500 languages are being spoken all over the world. Every language has a specific characteristics. For an example, different ways to read the language. Some of the languages that are there mostly. Most of the languages are read from left to right, but some of the languages are there which can be read from right to left also. For an example, we can say Urdu language, right? So this is another feature this language have. The language also create a barrier because we do not know about the codes and the structure, the grammar, punctuation, everything into that language. So we do not understand the language. Then when it comes to the culture, greeting is a very important factor because whenever you meet that other person who belong to the different region and different part of the world who have a different culture, right? So there are different ways of greeting in every country. We know some of the common greeting ways. So let's see. So as the communication starts with the greeting, it is important to know how to greet the people of that country. You know that we Indians tend to hug, but nowadays we are not hugging because of the pandemic. And when it comes to the old people, they do not like to hug. Whenever you are meeting to the grandparents, right? So that time you did not to hug them because they don't like it. But if you prostrate or say namaste, then they like it, right? Because the culture, they follow it, right? So you need to follow their culture as a guest. Otherwise you are not welcome. So it depends on the culture. Now the culture is developed by that community or the region. So we have to follow it. We cannot change it. Then the location of that particular culture. We Indians do not tend to hug because of the humid and warm environment we have here as compared to the Western countries. Western people tend to hug to each other because the weather is very cold there. But Indian weather is not as cold as the Westerners. So that's why we are always sweating. So we do not hug to each other and it will create a discomfort for the people, right? So because of the location, we do not follow that greeting process. Then it also will be defined by the gender and age, for which gender you are communicating and the age of that particular person. So you need to also aware about the gender and age of that particular culture, right? Then when it comes to greeting, some of the examples are discussed here. If you are in New Zealand, you have to rub the nose to those people, and those group of the people are known as Maori people. Those, when they are meeting to each other, they rub their nose, and this is called hongi, means sharing the bread. We do not do it normally, right? And if you do it, people will misunderstand you and will have a wrong assumption, right? Then bowing, it's very common. We have watched it in movies, right? So many times. So in Japan, this can range from a slight bow to the 90-degree full bend, right? Then a handshake. Handshake is acceptable all over the world. Now see other cultural variations here, and these are quite interesting. So when it comes to the other cultural variations, slurping your soup is considered good manner in Japan, right? And implies that you are actually enjoying the food. But this is not accepted in Westerns as well as in the Indian culture, right? Then, in some societies like Germany, punctuality is given utmost importance. We Indians do not tend to give more importance to the punctuality. Even the people who are coming late are considered VIP. But in Germany, you have to be on time, and being 10 minutes late, even to the informal gathering, is considered very rude. You are rude or arrogant, and you do not care about the other people's time. So, there, if you are going, you have to be on time. Then, in some of the African people, they do not allow you to take their photographs because they think it steals their soul from them. So, if you try to photograph them, they will attack you physically, right? So this is not acceptable there. Then apart from it, pointing your feet towards Buddha statue is a very serious offense in the Buddhist countries. So you cannot point your feet toward the Buddha statue. Then when in India, when we show a way or a road to any stranger, we will just use it a finger, right? But this is not acceptable in the culture of Middle East and Russia. So whenever you want to show any direction, you can use your whole palm instead of using the finger. Then the victory sign, as we usually do it, right? It is harmless and will show that we are victorious, but it is a serious offense or it is not acceptable when you are in the Britain and when you're using it palm facing you. So you need not to show it like palm facing you, but you have to turn the palm towards the people, right? So this is not acceptable there. Now some of the interesting facts I'm showing you about the concept of time. So concept of time varies from culture to culture, and Asians have very relaxed attitude towards the time compared to the Latin America and Europe's, right? But this is not also acceptable in every region of the Asia. While Germans and Japanese are very particular about the time, right? Now coming to the some of the slides I'm playing here. In between that, you can mark your attendance as the link is operational now. And this is quite interesting and fun to see what are the cultural variations are there. So in India, if you are coming late, it's acceptable and it depends on in which city you are in. So if you are in Delhi, you have to be on time. But if you are in Mumbai, people will expect you are coming late and they will accept if you're coming late because traffic in Mumbai is very severe as compared to Delhi, right? So Delhi people will expect you on time while Mumbai people will wait for you. When in Japan, if you are attending a meeting, you have to turn on time, right? If you come past 5 minutes, they will not give you an entry into the meeting. So for if you are going for the business in Japan, be on time there. Again, in Japan, some of the cultural variations we can see the dictation, the unwritten rules you have to follow that. So if you are in Japan and you are accompanied with the host, you have to save the best seats in the car, which are the back seats of the car for the guest or the host. So it shows the respect about them. If you are sitting on the back seats and asking them to sit beside the driver, it's a rude. If you are in Russia and your host or guest is accompanying with a woman, if you try to greet the woman, they do not like it. But normally it is accepted nowadays as the cultural variation is changing there. If you are in Canada and you are going for a business lunches, there you cannot demand for alcohol unless the host suggests you. If you are in China, you have to test everything. But whenever you done, do not clear the plate, leave some food into the plate, so it means that you have done. If you are in India, Indian people tend to say yes to everything and we say could be done, hone jaye, kar lenge, dekh lenge. So this is not the words we use which are normally used by any other country. There will be directly yes or no, and people don't understand other people. When the Westerners are coming to us, they do not understand, could be done, right? So we can use directly yes or no. If you are in Japan, always carry your business cards with you, and when somebody offers your business card, into that return you have to offer your business card to them. If you are USA people are sometimes very relaxed and informal when it comes to the business meeting, right? So you can drop the formality, but you have to keep some of the manners for the meeting. If you are in China and you are attending a business meeting and you are doing the gestures like backslap, so this backslap gesture is not accepted there. If you are in China, they will offer you the starter into a plate which will be in a row. So when you are eating it, you have to start from left to right as the food intensity or the flavor of the food will increase from left to right. If you are in Brazil, you should not keep your briefcase on the floor as the security measures have informed that this is an offense there. So you have to put it on table or hook it. If you are in the middle and a woman tries to greet the men are not usually expecting to be greeted by the women. If you are in Sweden, you have to be ready for a debate when you are getting for the business meeting. So there will be an actual debate in which you have to involve in. If you are in Sweden, the toasting, we say cheers and touching the glasses. Skål, that's known as skål. So skål can be done with the nodding, but no touching of the glasses. If you are in Singapore, you have to stick to your modesty. So do not flatter, do not over communicate with the people. Stick to your business communication only. If you are in Germany, as soon as you have done your meal, you have to fold the napkin and place the cutlets there on the proper place so that people will understand that you have done. If you are in USA, you have to carry a identity card visa with you, because when you are getting the access to any building, you need to show the ID card and the visa there. Without it, you will not get the entry. If you are in UK, you can have a talk of the weather, sports, etc. before you start the meeting. But once the meeting is started, you have to stick to the business communication. If you are in China, they will offer you a Chinese liquor that's known as baijiu. So when you are drinking it, drink it with a restriction, and as soon as you've done your drinking, keep some liquor into the glass. So the host will understand that you have done. If you are in Thailand, Thai people consider head a very sacred thing. So do not pass over anything over the head or do not try to touch to the head of any person. If you are in Norway, then Norwegians are interested to have a talk on the topic and talk directly and deliberately. Stick to the facts. If you are in Denmark and your host or guest is accompanied by a woman, first of all, you have to greet the woman, then you can greet the men. If you are in China, the hierarchy of the seating also be there while you are attending the business lunches. So the best seats will be reserved for the senior or the guest people. If you are in France, France's tend to call by their surnames. So before you go in for the meeting, tend to remember their surnames. As the first name, they just consider it as a rude. Okay, so this was all about the cultural variations, where you can find that different culture have a different background, different dictum or the way of communication when it comes to meet them, right? So that's it. I'm ending the topic here. Do mark your attendance if you haven't marked it. If you've done it, you can leave the meeting.